You're here for our coronation of King Charles III. How do you feel about that? You're a lifelong Republican. What are you doing here, Prime Minister?
Well, I think you can be a lifelong Republican, which I am, and still respect our institutions. And certainly I have a great deal of respect for King Charles. I am having an audience with him this afternoon, and I'm very much looking
Me in the morning, the King in the afternoon. I like the way your schedule's going, Prime Minister.
I'm very much looking forward to it. I had a terrific meeting with him at the palace when I was here for his mother's funeral. That was a real moment of reflection. That was an extraordinary time. And it's a great honour to be here representing Australia. All Australians wish King Charles well, regardless of the different views that people will have about our constitutional arrangements.
The Queen, you were here for the funerals, you said, and you actually went to her lying in state at Westminster Hall. What was that experience like for you?
It was very moving. I mean, the Queen Elizabeth was, of course, the only head of state in my lifetime up to that point. And she was a constant in our lives, a reassuring presence. So her passing was something that was a very significant event. But she also, I think, was very loved and respected by all. To lead your nation and the Commonwealth for 7 decades is extraordinary. We won't see that. Certainly you and I won't see that again. And I think people, the queues, we went running one morning along the Thames, and the queues of people, including Australians who had travelled to London in order to queue for 36 hours to pay their respects to Her Majesty lying in state, was a remarkable time.
When you were standing there with your partner and you were paying your own personal respects, did you feel emotional in that moment, notwithstanding your long-held position about the monarchy?
Well, it's a moment in history. I had the great honour of, I met Queen Elizabeth at the palace during the first G20 that was held during the global financial crisis. And her leadership and her capacity, her strength, was quite remarkable, and her passing was a very significant moment in the world's history. And unlike even previous monarchs, of course, she came to that position at such a young age, and during the era, the first era of television, modern communications, so the pressure that she was under during those 7 decades, of course, grew, and she carried herself with such dignity and grace during that entire period.
Your birth was actually delayed because of the Queen.
Well,
true, right?
My mother was, well, kind of true. My mother was on her way to the hospital in 1963, and the Queen was, of course, visiting Australia, and my mother insisted on going through the streets and seeing the banners and the commemorations for her visit on the way to give birth to me. So that was my mum, and that is something that is an example. My mother voted yes in the Republic, but she had enormous respect for Her Majesty the Queen.